All right, 97.7 Outlaw Radio FM listeners, we are live in full effect with the one, the only, the legendary, and my personal favorite female hip hop artist of all time. We got the one and only Nonchalant. How you doing this evening?
What's up, DJ Immortal? Thank you so much for having me. Thank you, 97.7, for having me. I really appreciate it.
You are most certainly welcome. I just want to say thank you so much for just giving us a little bit of your time. I grew up on your music, so it's an honor to be able to just sit back and be able to chop it up with the legendary Nonchalant.
I appreciate that. That's love. Shout out to everybody in Canada. Definitely still feel love from Canada. So, thank you all so much for your continued support. I really appreciate it.
And I gotta ask you, taking you way back to the beginning, like what actually made you decide to get into the music industry initially?
I mean, I think like everybody, you love music. Most people grow up on music in their home. But for me, it was just really something that I just really enjoyed doing and really, kind of like everybody else. You kind of escape with music. Music is like a lot of people right now in 2020, music is getting us through some crazy times. So during that time when I was, before I got signed, I listened to and still listen to a little bit of everything. I am pretty much well-rounded. I listen to everything except for heavy metal. That's the only music that I don't listen to. No shade to heavy metal, but, my headbanger, I just can't do it. But I really enjoy music, so I think I was just naturally drawn to it, meaning that it was going to be in my future in some way other than just listening. And crazy story. Originally, the reason why, and I've only told this story, DJ Immortal, one time, and I'm only going to tell this story two times. The first time and you the second time to Canada. The reason why Nonchalant really, really got into music, I love music, the reason why was to meet Janet Jackson. True story. True story. This is a true story. I'm telling you, was her Black Cat, the album of Black Cat, and the whole 1814 movement was happening, and I was like, I got to meet Janet Jackson. How can I meet Janet Jackson? I got to make a record, and I literally told my mother this story. I told her, I said, Mom, I'm going to meet Janet Jackson. Everybody has that mother, like, they pat you on the head, like, okay, baby, whatever you say. I said, I'm going to make a record, get famous, and then I'll be able to meet Janet Jackson. But because of my love for music, and my genuine love for music, I mean, I love to sing. At the time, I wasn't rapping, I was actually singing. I just started writing songs. And I became, like so focused, like, okay, I got to write a hit song. I got to do this. And as time went on, I'm meeting people, trying to join groups where I met my best friend of 30 years, trying to sing background for Johnny Gill's cousin and that sort of thing. I mean, it's crazy. I really need I need a movie about my life. But anyway, that's how I originally decided to dive head first into what I already loved, music, was to meet Janet Jackson. Now, to answer your question, did I ever meet Janet Jackson? No, I never met Janet Jackson. But I did see Michael Jackson, but I never met Janet. So that's long story short.
I'm going to be honest with you, I was actually just about to pounce on that question, so you definitely read my mind on that one.
I know, but, again, like I said, my love for music, the rapping was something that I just love to do anyway, and I was in the studio with Black Productions, shout out to Black Productions, who produced BAM, who produced 5 O'Clock, and I just started rapping, and he was like, yo, wait a minute, why haven't you done this before? Why is this the first time we hearing you rap? And I'm like, well, because I like to sing. They was like, we got to make, some rap records, and we're gonna put the two together. And I was like, okay, it's not a problem. I love to do it, so let's do it. And that's how it all came about.
And of course, you were also signed to MCA Records. I have to ask you, how did that record deal come to be for you? And of course, just getting your first deal, what was the feeling just being in there and signing those papers?
I'm telling you, the feeling, it's unexplainable. The feeling that you have, how that happened, again, shout out to Black Productions, who produced my first album. They went to Howard, and one of the members went to Howard with Nicole Bernard, who at the time had just gotten her job at MCA Records, MCA Universal, as an A&R. So they called and was like, Catherine called and was like, yo, I got a friend up at MCA. She just got a job, as an A&R. So let's complete the record, and I'm going to send it to her and see what she thinks. We did the record, sent it to her. She literally was down here like in a week, came to meet me. And I think that deal happened so quickly. I think I probably was signed like within a month. I was signed, like literally recording. Now, I will tell you this. The first time that I went to MCA Universal, I'm sitting in the office, in Nicole's office, my first time up at the building, and we're actually doing the paperwork, and I'm sitting in there, and I sign my paperwork, and I tell her, tell them, I was like, I'll be right back. I went around, I'm shaking because I'm just so excited. I went to the bathroom. Needless to say, I'm in there screaming, crying, so happy. And came back, got myself together, came back. And she said, she asked me, she said, you went to the bathroom and scream? Were you crying? I can tell you've been crying. It's like, yes, absolutely, absolutely. So, I mean, it was kind of like a fairy tale because during that time, an artist still, you had to go through so much trying to get a deal. And even now, especially back then, though, to have that dream come true the way that it did, it was just me meeting Black Productions, making a record, then sending it to New York, she coming down here, and I was signed. It literally, seemed to be that quick. It was a dream.
It sounded like that dream was meant to be, though. You know what I mean? Because people get the records sent off all the time, and not a lot of times they really actually have someone fly down. So they most definitely heard your talent within that demo.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I think the beauty of it in weekend-filled music, when it just happens naturally, it's organic. That's what it was. I was genuinely having a great time making music, and that came through. The record that got me signed was never released. The record that I did that she heard, that she loved, Nicole Bernard, shout out to Nicole Bernard, was this record called The Flow. Very, very melodic, a lot of singing, da-da-da-da, a lot of that. And the record, The Flow, is the record that got me my deal. And, of course, we went in and did more records. Ironically, 5 O'Clock was already made when I got my deal. 5 O'Clock originally was called Brother Man, and we changed the name to 5 O'Clock because of what I was saying. And then I changed the hook a little bit, but it ended up being 5 O'Clock because of what I was saying.
And also, while we're still on the topic of 5 O'Clock, and I do want to say, first and foremost, Nonchalant, you probably get asked this a million times, so I want to say my apologies for the millionth and first, but your hit single was 5 O'Clock, which was actually certified gold, which is probably platinum by now, but I have to ask you, what was the inspiration and story behind that iconic single?
The inspiration was the fact that I had to be at work. I had to be up and out by 5 o'clock in the morning. At the time, I was working for the post office, U.S. Postal Service. Shout out to all the postal workers who made our election rock out. But anyway, I was working for the post office, and I had to be at work at 6. So I was out, at like 5:30 on my way to work. And during that time, the hustler, little hustlers on the street, little guys on the street, were out there every day. And my route was the same. Going to work, but they would be out there every day, like they punched a clock the same way that I did at 5 o'clock in the morning. And I just remember saying, to myself, I hope I never see one of my nephews out here at 5 o'clock in the morning. But we know that, the drug game has touched everybody's life. I don't know anybody, especially in the United States, that drugs haven't touched their lives in some form or fashion. So that's where that record came from. Me just seeing the young men out there, the young guys out there, 5 o'clock in the morning, what they was doing, outside on the corner. And, that's where it came from. That's where that record came from.
And I gotta say as well, that song has touched so many lives throughout the years and is still helping a lot of individuals still to this day. I have to ask you, how does it feel to know that that song is actually still helping individuals go through their problems today?
It's a blessing. It's no other way to explain the blessing of a record that is timeless, that has traveled through time, that I still get, like you just said, people saying that it still touched my life. Unfortunately, I don't want the song to be relevant to the time, and it still is relevant to the time. You do want timeless music, and everybody wants that song that somebody sings, 20 years later. But it's a blessing to have, this record continue to touch people the way that it does. I'm just looking forward to the time that it's not pivotal to what's happening in our time.
And also, on March 26, 1996, you actually released your debut album, Until the Day, that actually had 5 O'Clock on the record. But I have to ask you, what's the inspiration and story behind that amazing album?
Well, the album, the entire album, and shout out to Chucky Thompson as well, who's from the DMV, Lonnie Cape and Band, Black Productions, who's from DMV. Making that record, the inspiration behind it, shout out to also Costin Bailu from DC, who's on that record for the title track, Until the Day, and Frankie, who's from DC, Until the Day. Making the record, again, I was at a time, being so young and having the impact of actually having a major deal, and knowing that, you have this machine behind you that's about to push your idea, your feelings, the words that you come up with. There's no other way to explain it than, it's a little bit surreal making the record. It seemed like a dream, but it was a beautiful reality. And for the record, Until the Day, the second track that came out off of the album, the title track, Until the Day, unfortunately, it didn't do as well as 5 O'Clock did. And sometimes, things happen at record labels. I went through that whole change where upper management was changing, people were leaving, people were coming in, and I got kind of tangled up in all of that. And unfortunately, that held up my creativity. But the Until the Day record, the actual album, it just opened up so many doors for me to be creative in so many other ways and go on outside of just making records, to be creative. So, it continued to be a blessing.
And also, the very next year in 1997, I noticed via Discogs that you actually did some hip-hop vocals alongside Yo-Yo for Sandra St. Victor for her song Chocolate. I have to ask you, what was it like actually doing those hip-hop vocals for Sandra?
It was crazy. Now, see, I'm going to tell you, Immortal, it's so bananas. I have so many stories. To tell you. I don't know how much time you got. But
hey, I have all night, so it's all about your time, how much you want to talk about. So I'm all yours.
That's dope. So, one, shout out to Yo-Yo and shout out to Sandra St. Victor. That was really dope. When I went to do the record, we went to shoot the video. I was not in the video for that record. We actually had Sandra St. Victor had a show in Central Park, and we were going to be on stage with her doing her show. Yo-Yo and myself, we were going to do the show in Central Park and then go shoot the video the next day. When I got there, went to rehearsal for the show in Central Park. We did our rehearsal, and I actually did the show the next day. But by the end of the show, I had an allergic reaction to a chemical that was put in my hair that caused my head to swell up so huge that I couldn't leave my hotel room. So I wasn't in that video. So if anybody Googles that video, Yo-Yo, Nonchalant Street, I was not in that video because my head was swollen. And so I ended up staying in New York like a whole week longer, going to the hospital until, I could go home. But it was great making the record. I love the record. I worked with some incredible people, and she was definitely one of the records that I genuinely love. Yo-Yo and myself was on another record with Light, Bahamadia, and myself as well. So I've worked with Yo-Yo a couple of times over the years.
And I gotta say, Yo-Yo is a phenomenal hip-hop artist as well. And I gotta say, your guys' chemistry on that particular song, Chocolate, was absolutely phenomenal.
Thank you so much.
And also, you actually appeared on the song "Keep on Pushing" from the Dangerous Ground soundtrack. I have to ask you, what was it like being a part of that movie soundtrack?
Yeah, that was show. But unfortunately, we all weren't in the same and weren't recording at the same time. But that was the record that I was speaking of with Light, myself, Yo-Yo, Bahamadia, and that was dope. Shout out to P Rock, I mean, to this day, I listened to the record, and somebody tagged me with the record, I think about a couple of weeks ago, as a matter of fact, on social media, and said that they didn't know about this record and that they loved the record. And when you get a chance to work with, your peers, people that you respect in the game, and other ladies in the game that you love and respect, you get a vibe, you get a chemistry. You also, even if you're not in the same room, you get a vibe and you feel good about the record. And I love that record. I'm happy that I had a chance to work with them, that we had that history.
And also, another soundtrack that you had the opportunity to take part in is actually Dave Chappelle's Half-Baked movie soundtrack. I have to ask you, when you did the song "Flying," were you able to were you actually able to go to the set or whatnot, or was the soundtrack completely separate from the movie?
No, we actually did that with Tricky, and now that record was something completely different than that I had done before. And we all worked together. I laid my vocals down. I actually had to go to another session that day, so I did a lot of vocals that day, and then they sent me the final result of the record. And a part of it really didn't sound anything like we started out with. So by the time I heard the record, maybe the next day, it sounded a lot different. But I was still super pleased with the record because it sounded like something I had never done before. So yeah, it was really dope working with the Tom Tom Club and Tricky. Yeah.
And I gotta say as well, I actually really did enjoy that song. It's always good sometimes to step out of your shell and try new things. And I gotta say, it most definitely suited you in that song.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
And your official DJ is actually ADST Music. Shout out to him as well for getting us connected. But I have to ask you, how did yourself and ADST actually get connected?
Well, Dre, shout out to Dre, ADST. I mean, if you've been talking to him, so you can hear, should I say, his personality. He's just a dope person. Here in the DMV, he's so helpful to so many artists here in the DMV via, getting you connected with blogs or radio like yourself. And he's just a really all-around dope person, but he's an incredible producer as well. And I was introduced to him by another incredible producer, Flawless, DJ A Sharp, who they both went to school together. So Flawless is a good friend of mine, and I just met ADST through him. And like I said, dope people hang around dope people, incredible musicians, just as Flawless is. And Dre, and then on top of that, he's just a really good person. You want people around you that give you good vibes in so many different ways, and he does it. So yeah, absolutely. Shout out to ADST Music, dope producer. Dope. Oh man, he's a dope battle producer though. Yeah, I've seen him at some of his gigs, and the beat maker side of him is a little crazy. It's a little bananas. So yeah. Shout out to ADST.
And I gotta say as well, being a part of the music industry on the whole radio side of things, you do run into some individuals that are hard to work with. But when it comes to ADST, I actually have to say he's probably one of the most nicest PRs that I've really personally had the opportunity to work with. So I just want to give him one big huge shout out to everybody that works alongside him as well. He's a phenomenal individual.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
And also, last year I remember actually seeing yourself and Ducky Fresh on the news promoting a Father's Day performance that you did June 15th of 2019. I have to ask you, how did you originally meet Ducky Fresh? And of course, what was it like doing that Father's Day performance?
We've run across each other over years and, doing different things. But for that, the promoter actually, shout out to John, the manager of Belladonna Band, one of the greatest female bands on the planet here from D.C. John, the manager of Belladonna, had Belladonna on that show. And he reached out. He told the promoter, he was like, "Do you know that Nonchalant lives here? She should be on this show." Because, of course, there was so many hip-hop iconic. Light was on that show. There were so many people on that show. And he was like, "Nonchalant lives here." The promoter had no idea that, I was still in D.C. He was like, "Absolutely. Can you reach out to her and see if she can, would like to be on the show? And I said, yes, absolutely. I would love to be on the show. So, with Dougie, I mean, it's for me, when I go to shows like that, you're happy to be on the show, but you're happy to be able to see iconic performances like a Ducky Fresh. You just enjoy yourself. I just enjoyed, of course, killing it when I hit the stage, but I was also happy to be there to see Dougie do his thing, Light do her thing, and so many others. So yeah, it was a dope night. The show was actually almost sold out. Yeah, so it was a dope night.
And you know what I gotta say, it just proves that real hip hop is still alive. You know what I mean? An almost sold out show with a bunch of legends. I gotta say, I'm jealous that I didn't have the opportunity to be there.
yeah.
But also, as well, I noticed that you actually have created your own brand titled Spin Like a Girl. I have to ask you, tell us a bit more about that brand, and of course, what services or products do you offer?
Well, it's actually not. It's actually a state of mind. Spin Like a Girl is a state of mind. I started DJing. I actually shout out to DJ Tracy Young, first female to win a Grammy. In the remix region. She just did that last year. So Tracy Young is a really good friend of mine. But we used to work at WPGC together, 95.5. And I just really loved, she was a DJ. She was a dope DJ. Tigger, who's in Atlanta, dope DJ. And I always wanted to spin. So back in 97, a long time ago, Tracy, we got off work. She was like, let's roll up to the music store and you should get some turntables. And I was like, what? And she was like, yeah, you should get some 1200s. So I did. We rode up to Chuck Levin's. I picked up a pair of 1200 flight cases. No, not flight cases. I didn't get my flight cases until recently, but got me some 1200s, brought them home. Mortal, I think they were out for maybe 3 weeks. I had them out of the boxes for about 3 weeks. Back in that time, you had vinyl. So the record that I kept playing over and over again was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm trying to cut that up. I'm doing my best. So I'm doing that for like maybe 2 weeks, and then I put it back in the box. And they stayed in the box. My 1200 stayed in the box from 97 until about 2006, 2008. I pulled them back out. Messed around a little bit more, but like anybody should, DJing is a craft. It's not something that you wake up with, I'm a DJ. No, you can't do that. So I have so much, still to this day, so much respect for DJs that, have the ability to make a full crowd of people feel the same way based on what he or she is playing. I have so much respect for that. So Spin Like a Girl was a play off of that, because when I pulled them out of gym, I was in a place in my life where I could really try something new, and it was like, try something new. If you want to spin like a girl, that could be anything. Just take a chance and just try. It could be mountain climbing, it could be whatever it is. But for me, it was Spin Like a Girl because I'm embarking on this new creative journey of mine, and once I did it, I got so much more support from Spinderella, DJ Jazzy Joy, so many other female DJs gave me so much love, along with DJ Tracy, who started me out. I just was like, you just have to take a chance. And so that's where Spin Like a Girl came from. It's really supporting, inspiring women, young girls to really do whatever it is. For me, it was DJing. So that's where the spin came from. But it's really about supporting young women and women of all ages to do whatever you want to do, whenever you decide that's what you want to do.
Because when we're on the DJing side of things, I remember as well about I think it was like last year, you end up dropping a music video via your YouTube channel. It was actually with Ra the MC and Katrina as well, and I think I saw you DJing actually in that music video as well. Yes. Shout out to Robbie MC. Shout out to Kenilworth Katrina. Yes, that's the name of that song is Ratrina Non. Ratrina Non. I play off of our name, and DJing in that record. I had my Pioneer all lit up, and I love DJing.
like I said, it's still a learning process. It's still something that I have to work at, and everybody should. No perfect DJ except for a few on the planet, but it's something that I respect, and I will continue to try to get better at, and definitely be an asset to the craft.
And I also saw on Instagram that you actually have a street named after you. I have to ask you, how does it feel to know that you actually have your own street, literally have your own street in this world?
I mean, it's beautiful. I wish I could drive down the street. I haven't been on the street myself yet, but I think it's pretty dope. I definitely think it's pretty dope. I remember also being over in Paris, and the reps over there, they gave me a bottle of wine that was Nonchalant wine. And I was like, wow, it's a whole lot of nonchalant stuff out here. True story on this, DJ Immortal. On the Nonchalant wine, I brought the wine home, kept it in my refrigerator, and one of my friends went in the refrigerator and opened the wine. I was never going to open that wine. They opened it up. It was in the refrigerator for like 5 years, and they just came in and opened it and started drinking it. True story. Craziness.
I have to ask you, just pertaining to that, when you saw a person go in your fridge and open it up, were you obviously you're pissed off, but did they know you were saving that, or were they just like, hey, bottle of wine, let's get drunk?
Obviously, no, she didn't know I was saving it. It was a real tense moment in my house during that time. It was real serious, needless to say. But I got over it. I mean, I could keep the bottle, but it was tense. She had no idea I was saving it. She just saw a bottle of wine and just decided to drink it. I don't know, craziness.
And I have to ask you, Nonchalant, what's next for you? Because as you already know, you're DJing. You've done thousands upon thousands of amazing projects. But I have to ask you, what's next for you? Is there anything else you want to promote? Anything else you still want to talk about when we still have you here live on Outlaw Radio FM?
Yeah, absolutely. I want to give a shout-out to Red Panda Printing. Red Panda Printing is a company that I started because of my nephew. I was printing up a lot of shirts. Shout-out to Christopher Avion Andromeda, who passed away from epilepsy. I'm very passionate also about epilepsy and Epilepsy Foundation. I'm part of that. But Red Panda Printing, I started that to be able to print as many shirts as I want for him during the observing of epilepsy when we have the march here. So that's what I'm focused on right now, is building that brand, building that company, along with also, DJing, as well as occasionally getting on a record. The last record I got on Trina Non, it moved me because those two women, young ladies, moved me to say something. So I'm looking forward to getting that feeling again and going in the studio, but that hasn't happened. I've had a couple of ideas that I've worked on, and I will be dropping some music. I think kind of when the air clears with this coronavirus situation, because we have so much going on here in the States as well as around the world. But as you know, with our elections and things like that, in the immediate, I'm really focused on, people. I did a real huge push for voting and getting people registered to vote this past election. And we had a huge turnout for that. So we're still, here in the United States getting past that hump in the immediate future. So I'm just going to be doing what I can on that front. But creatively, absolutely, I will be dropping music. In the meantime, check out red_panda_printing on social media, and follow me, and hopefully DJ Immortal, I can shoot you some shirts. I can print some Outlaw Radio shirts real soon and get those out to Canada soon.
Hey, you know what? I can't say no to that. You know what I mean? I most definitely would be an absolute honor. But one last thing I do want to ask you is still have you here, because I do know we have a lot of underground talent that really do still respect legendary individuals like yourself and still really do appreciate the hip-hop culture. And one thing I do want to ask is, what is some great advice that you can actually give some of these young female hip-hop artists that really do want to stride in an amazing individual's shoes like yourself?
First of all, I definitely would say, surround yourself with people that inspire you. Surround yourself with people that really push you to be better. It's always great to have people that, say, yeah, this is dope, this is dope, this is dope. But if you can, definitely get in the studio with somebody that makes you go rewrite something. Because like that record, Trina Non, shout out to Rob DMC and Kenworth Katrina, but Kenworth Katrina and Rob, afterwards, Katrina, I heard her verse, she made me go back in. I went back in and rewrote my verse, added something different to it. So I would say definitely keep yourself surrounded with people that inspire you. And also just, it's kind of corny, but at the same time, you still have to be true to yourself because, now, even more so than back in the day, people will see whether this is you or it's really not you. So, via social media. I would also say definitely to any artist, I say this. Social media, don't let social media gas you up. You might have 50,000 followers, but pay attention. If you post something that you're selling, if you drop your record and you get 5,000 likes on your shoes, but you only get 25 likes on your record, pay attention to that. That means something. That absolutely means something. So, not to shade anybody, that's a reality. I pay attention to that. I know that, as an artist, in order to make money, you have to be a brand that, people want to see in every light in this day and age. So I would just say, just pay attention to your craft, pay attention to your brand, and pay attention to what really people are liking. If they're not liking your music, you got to pay attention to that and really strive to make sure that it's not about your shoes or your shirt. It's also about your music because that's your brand and that's the real creative drive and what you really want them to love. Because if you make it, they don't care about you.
And I gotta say, Nonchalant, first and foremost, thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy evening and coming on my radio station. I have to say, I've been a fan of yourself for a very long time. I remember getting a copy of Until the Day and wearing the hell out of the record, I think 3 different copies. So thank you so much for what you did for hip-hop and all the amazing inspirational music throughout the years. I'm looking forward to more, and hopefully down the line we can make this happen again.
DJ Immortal, thank you. Like I said, thank you so much. Thank you all so much for having me. I genuinely appreciate it. Big love to everybody in Canada. Y'all stay safe and blessed.
Most definitely. You stay safe and blessed as well, Nonchalant. Thank you so much and have yourself a wonderful night.
You too. Peace.